Alrighty everyone, I think it's safe to say a lot of people out there now have seen this reboot film. I'm a huge fan of the franchise, from the original arcade classics to obscure titles like Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero on the N64. I live and breathe Mortal Kombat, so after a second viewing and kind of letting the film marinate, so to speak, I'm ready to talk about possible future paths this franchise could take and all the spoilers within Simon McQuoid's directorial debut film, Mortal Kombat. So, just to get this out of the way, the plot centers around a character by the name of Cole Young. He hasn't been in any previous Mortal Kombat game, comic, nothing. Brand new character. And following a lot of familiar superhero tropes, he finds out he's part of a bigger universe that he just doesn't know about yet. The mystical Lord Raiden is recruiting people from Earth to fight in a tournament to save the world, and apparently, Cole is one of these people. These Earthrealm defenders are chosen to fight the good fight. That is, until an evil sorcerer tries to stop the Earthrealm defenders before the tournament even starts. The plot is pretty simplistic, but look at it this way. When the first few entries in the Mortal Kombat series came out in the early 90s, the plots were simplistic as hell in those games too. So realistically, in the earlier titles, did y'all really care about the plot? So my initial thoughts after seeing this film twice now: it's a pretty damn good movie. It's fun, it's bloody, it's got well-placed humor, and pretty decent fight scenes. Is it perfect? Of course not, so let's just get into it. From the first trailer, the main plot point that I was really worried about was this whole birthmark concept. Cole had one on his chest and other people had it too. And it just sounded super hokey and even reminded me of the plot point in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. But you know what? This time around, it's done a hell of a lot better. It worked for me. People with said birthmark will eventually find their powers and can enter the tournament. And as hokey as that sounds, it explains a lot of the character's powers without having to do some modernized technology-based spin on it. Like right away when they showed that Sonya didn't have one, I was like, bro, her arch enemy is she's gonna kill Kano and get that birthmark. I should clarify that it is a birthmark for some people, but other people, you can kill that person and then it transfers to you. Because let's be honest, if the games and previous films have showed us anything, it's that Sonya Blade is going to kick that Australian loudmouth's ass in any interpretation. Favorite characters? Surprisingly, I gotta go with newcomer Cole Young. And also Kung Lao. But Cole, he had something to fight for. He kept getting his ass kicked over and over again. He used to be good, but now he's just some washed up MMA fighter. But hey, at the end of the film, that still doesn't stop him from defending his family against fucking Goro. In the film, when all hope is lost, Cole's Arcana manifests, and basically what that is that's how people's powers come about in this film. Your life ends up having a defining moment, or hell, even someone pushes you to the point where you just snap. That's when your Arcana is shown. Hell, you might get a laser eye. You might get wrist rings that can shoot pink beams. Cole Young, though, he got this really cool kinetic type of armor, and every time he takes a hit, the armor channels that energy and Cole can use that to fight back. And he can also manifest weapons with that power. I'm wondering if his power isn't, so to speak, the armor, but maybe it's kind of like Darwin and X-Men, like Cole's power is he can adapt to survive. Guess we'll see that in the next one. My other favorite character though, Kung Lao. Dude is a hilarious savage in this movie. You get him fucking up Natara table saw style, doing quick succession punches just like in the video game, and he just tears Kano apart, verbally that is. Just sitting there talking shit to Kano. Terrible fighter. Zero skill. Failure. I really dug him and Liu Kang's dynamic as well. Obviously I'm not going to talk about every character in this movie because there's a lot, major and minor. But the main ones that stuck out, the ones that got at least a little bit of character development. Jax, Sonya, Scorpion, and Cole. They all did a good job in the movie. They're likable characters, and the actors who portrayed them I enjoyed too. But I'm sorry, Jax, during that encounter with Sub-Zero at the beginning of the film, that dude would have been dead. He got fucked up hard. Arms exploded off, pushed off a ledge, face smacked against solid concrete, and goes splat from at least 50 feet up. I don't care how much they said the cold cauterized his wounds or whatever. There's just some shit that I don't buy. I like that they touched upon Sonya and Jax's military history too. Like, they're friends, they worked together before, you see pictures, and Jax is like, I did 6 tours, motherfucker. They kind of had like a Black Widow Hawkeye dynamic, And Scorpion is just a badass in this film. Besides the fact that he was used sparingly, did any of y'all notice when he said like, get over here? It was a different voice used from the original trailer. Like, in the trailer he's like, Like, it was muffled, it was garbled, but in the movie it's actually a lot clearer. While we're talking about Scorpion, the elephant in the room, I know. Cole Young being the descendant of Hanzo Hasashi. That actually worked for me. It was just the right amount of mystery this film needed, and seeing these two work as a team to take down Sub-Zero at the end was awesome. As I move on to talk about the other fighters, their backgrounds get hinted at like slightly in the film, but as I stated before, in a movie with 10 plus fighters, you're not gonna get full in-depth backgrounds on every damn character. What do you want this to be, a 4-hour movie? But nah, we just came here to be entertained, and I was. And what the fans are saying right now, where this movie is strictly for Mortal Kombat fans and people who haven't really seen the previous films or played the original video games, might not like this movie or might be lost. I can definitely see that. I agree with that. But that's my thing. Like, you're making a movie for the fans. People don't make a Lord of the Rings film hoping that all the critics who don't care about fantasy films like it, right? Anyways, the people fighting for Outworld now. Shang Tsung. The actor who portrayed him did an okay job, but I wasn't really afraid of him. He just felt like some generic cookie cutter villain. Melina was cool and all, but I don't know, I just never got the fan obsession with that character. Cabal and Kano though, the best shit talkers in this film. They 100% steal the show, and Josh Lawson as Kano is a huge departure from the character he portrayed in Superstore. The other characters were all fine and dandy, but here's where I gotta rant a little bit about my negatives. First off, one of my favorite characters, Reiko from Mortal Kombat 4, the depiction they went with just didn't work for me in this film. He's just some big goon with the hammer in this. I guess slightly more reminiscent of his Mortal Kombat Armageddon version, but come on. He was a badass ninja in Mortal Kombat 4 who specialized in throwing stars and had a big ass club. You couldn't include any of that shit? Seriously? And what was up with Sub-Zero? Like, the character was great in the film, don't get me wrong. But the look of his costume, by that I mean the color. I get that Outworld is supposed to be dark, you're supposed to have this black attire, but dude, Sub-Zero had no blue in his costume at all. At first I was like, is Bi-Han getting the Noob Saibot treatment already? I don't care how much lighting there was in one specific scene where there's like the darkest freaking tint of blue possibly hinted at in his costume. You could have done a better job than that. Lastly, for the character gripes, they did Reptile dirty. Let's just talk about that. I absolutely loved how they portrayed him in the original movie. He was a lizard for a little bit, then he was a human ninja hybrid. Perfect mix. And I also love the Harlequin disease approach in Mortal Kombat Rebirth. But in this, he's just some generic looking lizard that, don't get me wrong, has Reptile's powers from the game. But at the end of the day, he was a missed opportunity looks wise. My final overall gripe with this film, and don't get me wrong, I did thoroughly enjoy this movie, was the budget definitely showed a bit. It was $55 million, and if I'm really going to nitpick, from the so-so actors to some people's costumes looking cheap and the locations being underwhelming, I think the next one needs to step it up a bit in that aspect. Keep some of the same actors, because I did like a fair amount of them. And even though the fights were pretty good, like they used all their powers from the video games and it definitely had me entertained, I think it would benefit if you had some of the choreographers from like the HBO Max series Warrior or Donnie Yen's Ip Man franchise. That would definitely set these fights apart from any other movie. Lastly, I can't leave out all the nods and references I picked up on, you know? Certain fight scenes we hear electronic music being used for the soundtrack. Gotta give props to this reboot's composer, Benjamin Wallfish, for that. Obviously, it doesn't even come close to the 90s film's techno music, but I like that little touch or homage, so to speak, that the new movie had. I don't know if y'all noticed either, but Jax and Reiko were fighting on the pit level from one of the earlier Mortal Kombat games, and there's even a scene where you see Kano trying to steal Shinnok's amulet. I really enjoyed all the signature fighting moves, one-liners, and fatalities in the film too. The fan service was done right, without feeling forced. I will say, this film's ending is very reminiscent of the 2020 Sonic film, if you ask me. And what I mean by that is, it was a good movie on its own, but the sequel actually has me more hype. So because it's made a decent amount of money so far, where do I think this movie is going to be going in the second and third films? Well, just going by what the director said a little bit, and just little things I picked up on in the first movie, I think we're going to be going more in-depth with certain characters' backstories, like Liu Kang. I definitely think the spotlight is still going to focus on Cole Young, and maybe Scorpion is training him for this tournament that's finally going to happen in this one, since it didn't happen in the first movie. All while Cole is going to be looking for new fighters. We know Johnny Cage is a given. But here's the important thing. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot more new characters in the next film fighting for Raiden. Give me more lore, that's what I want. I also want to see the Chaos Realm, the Order Realm. Make the scale of these movies bigger while still staying true to the style and tone of the first film. You know they're going to be getting a bigger budget. New character predictions? Well, the two that are a given, Johnny Cage, and through all of the shots they had in this film with her weapon in the background, Princess Kitana. And when Shang Tsung was just like, death is just a portal. I'm guessing some characters like Cabal, Goro, Melina are going to make a comeback in the next movie. But characters like Reiko and Natara, I think they're going to stay dead. Ooh, actually, you know what I just thought of? What would be really cool? If there's a scene in the next film where Liu Kang is fighting off against Shang Tsung and Shang Tsung morphs into Kung Lao. Like, your cousin died in the first film and now someone is going to take the form of him? Like, dude, that's definitely a Shang Tsung thing to do him dirty. I definitely would love to see that emotional battle. My personal favorites though, Fujin and Kenshi, I'd love to see them woven into the second film's plot, but I feel that might be in the third movie. I think they want to do some other things with the franchise first. Quan Chi and Shinnok, I think maybe at the very least they're going to be teased in the next film, because regardless of what Raiden said, I think they might have had something to do with Scorpion coming back. But they could just throw away that plot arc completely. Wrapping this one up, guys, the 2021 reboot of Mortal Kombat has everything fans of the video game franchise were looking for. I think it really gets you hyped for a sequel, and don't worry, the director already has a 3-film plan, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe the dude who plays Sub-Zero is contracted for 4 movies if the franchise does well. I do prefer the original 95 film better than this one though, but I think this is right on par with Mortal Kombat Legacy Season 1, which I thoroughly enjoyed. This movie is not bad for a dude that only previously directed commercials and video shorts. Simon McCoy's Mortal Kombat reboot gets a 7.5 out of 10.